these very steps, members of the Nassau County Legislature's Democratic Caucus stood at a press conference with a newly formed organization calling itself the Nassau County Jail Coalition, claiming to be some type of an inmate advocacy group. This fringe group, comprised of people from several different organizations, complained of a myriad of issues at the Nassau County Correctional Center. Some issues that, in fact, my organization and I have been working diligently to correct for several years. None of the issues addressed by that group that day were new to anyone. Inmate health care, previously under Armor Correctional Healthcare Corporation, has finally and thankfully been replaced by Nassau University Medical Center. Some new issues were thrown in, like extending visiting hours for inmates on the weekends and ending solitary confinement. I'm not sure what that last demand is about because we don't have solitary confinement in Nassau County, first of all, so I don't know where that's coming from. The reason why I'm here today is because that group, while claiming to be working on behalf of inmates, also stood here with inflammatory signs like this one that was printed in Newsday the other day, stating "Stop Correction Officer Brutality." One of their leaders, Susan Gotterher, if that's how you say her name, claimed in a TV interview that she's seen injuries on inmates, insinuating that inmates are being abused by correction officers. Speaking on behalf of the dedicated men and women of the Nassau County Sheriff's Department, I can tell you that this group has no idea what they're talking about and has no conception of what goes into operating a correctional facility. Not one incident related to an inmate death at our facility or this whole mess with Armor Correctional Health has ever been related to the actions of any of our correction officers. I know conjuring images of Shawshank or Oz may make a splash and get attention to further some agenda, but these allegations are infuriating to correction officers who put their lives on the line every day to protect public safety and the residents of Nassau County. Our officers work in the toughest law enforcement environment there is. Everyone in that jail is there for a reason. There are no choir boys in jail, people. MS-13 gang members, Bloods, Crips, drug dealers, murderers, and rapists. Let's not kid ourselves. Our officers are entrusted with the care, custody, and control of these individuals, and in fact are the ones who many times are on the receiving end of the brutality at the hands of inmates. I want to introduce you to three people standing right behind me. I'm not going to mention their names because I don't want to, because of the nature of work we're in. This officer, and this officer. These two officers are still active correction officers. This officer is retired. Give me a brief second. This officer right here, in 2006, was attacked and viciously bitten by an inmate on his head, causing a severe injury to his head. In 2013, his career was cut short by another brutal attack from one of the many hundreds of gang members we have in our facility. This officer is actually out retired now, he can't work anymore. This officer right here, in 2007, he worked in the visiting unit. He was choked by an inmate almost into unconsciousness and had to be taken out in an ambulance. 2013, while patrolling the visiting area with a lot of these people that claim to come into the jail on behalf of inmates, with the inmates in the facility, was again brutally attacked by another gang member inmate. He was punched, kicked, and knocked unconscious. He had to be taken out in an ambulance. He suffered severe head trauma and was out of work for several months. This officer right here, does this look like someone who's brutalizing inmates to you? This officer right here was running a recreation movement and attacked and severely injured by a mental health inmate. He also had to be taken out in an ambulance because of the injuries that he sustained. These men have families and people who depend on them. They were brutally assaulted by inmates solely because they were correction officers. This year, to date, we have had 190 officers injured in the line of duty at the hands of inmates. Last year, we had 271 total for the year. 2015, we had 221 officers injured in the line of duty at the hands of inmates. We all know this is a tough job and it's a tough place to work, but no one goes to work expecting to be assaulted or disabled when we all have families to support and protect. This woman's sign should read, "End brutality against correction officers." Let's all get a grip here, folks. Now, most importantly, what's worse, most infuriating and galling is that our elected leaders in the Democratic Caucus would stand shoulder to shoulder with this group who are touting this message. Anyone who knows this job, knows me and our facility, knows that this photo is garbage. This is garbage. This is a lie and a tactic to, again, further some agenda, as I said previously. Nassau COBA, this union, has fought tooth and nail over the past 2 years since I took over this union as president, and in previous years, to get Nassau County legislators to help provide us with the essential tools, equipment, staffing, training, and policies needed to make that jail run safer from the ongoing threats posed by increasingly more violent inmate gangs and the influx of jail contraband. The union has repeatedly called for the sheriff and Nassau County legislators to step up and support the men and women who keep this county safe 24/7. We've made progress, but there is much, much more to do. Most importantly, properly staffing the jail, replenishing support units that are able to respond to emergencies, and returning posts that have been cut due to draconian budget cuts that will all serve to keep this jail safe for both our officers and the inmates. Instead of moving forward with that mindset to provide the tools, training, and staff to make this place better and safer, these elected officials have added insult to injury by joining forces with this fringe group claiming to be advocates that includes former inmates who have committed crimes against Nassau County citizens. The very citizens our elected officials are here to serve. And all this just weeks after seeking Nassau COBA's endorsement for their re-elections. This hypocrisy has to end. These legislators constantly call for oversight or monitors for everything in this county, adding more levels of bureaucracy in an effort to address problems. Maybe we should add another oversight board to oversee our elected officials to prevent the slanderous mischaracterization of Nassau's correction officers who keep this county safe every day. As such, the Nassau County Correction Officers Benevolent Association, all of us here that represent over 1,200 active and retired correction officers for this county, demand a full, formal, and public apology to each and every Nassau County Correction Officer, from legislators Kavan Abrams, Sheila Bino, Ellen Birnbaum, Delia Durigi-Witten, and Arnold Drucker. As our elected officials, we look to you to help us protect our citizenry. We look for you to help provide us as county workers with the proper tools and support to do our jobs effectively. And we certainly expect you to not allow yourselves to be parties to anti-law enforcement fringe groups whose members include those very people you were elected to protect us from. If no apologies are forthcoming, I may very well be back here asking for resignations. That's my statement. Does anybody have any questions?
I thought the press release was actually formally asking for their resignation, or
the press release said that I want an apology, and barring that, I'm going to be asking for resignations.
I take it, does this mean you will be endorsing their opponents, or what does this mean for endorsement?
We haven't made that yet. I'm waiting to see what these legislators say after spitting in our face like this with these fringe groups. I know these people a very long time. I'm friends with them. I've known a lot of these legislators for well over a decade, and it was a spit in our eye the other day. They're interviewing people that were ex-inmates, drug dealers, everything else. We're talking about heroin problem in Nassau County, and we're associating ourselves with people who have been arrested for drug crimes. What exactly are we talking about? I don't know what's going on with the world here, folks. Any other questions? Don't be shy. All right. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.